I'm in the big leagues, so they don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, ayy, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh, send it through quickly.
What is up, football fans, USFL fans, but most importantly, Houston Gamblers fans? To Gamblers Table Talk. All right, let's get right into it. So we're coming off of another win. Finally, we had one down week, went right back into the win column. We absolutely love it. Let's talk about it. Back to Victory Mondays, man. We went out, we played the Maulers. It was a tough game. A lot of people, especially Webb, my counterpart on USFL Authority, thought that this would be Mark Thompson's down week, that this would be the week he was held to no touchdowns, not many yards. He had 98 yards for 2 touchdowns. We beat the Maulers. It was fantastic. You have to love it. What a game we got to see there. Now, let's move on to the winners and losers. Who were the winners and losers of this week? Number one, like I said earlier, Mark Thompson. He's a record holder, 13 touchdowns. Last week, he already had the record for the most touchdowns in a single season in the USFL modern era. Now, he's bumped up. So it was 11. Now it's 13 touchdowns. If he scores the next 2 weeks, he's just going to keep raising the record. So unless Wes Hill suddenly starts getting touchdowns like a madman, no one's going to catch him. This is a record that I assume will be there for a while, because there's not a lot of teams that just absolutely, depend on their running back the way that the Gamblers do. So Mark Thompson, he's special. He's having a special year. Even if he was to come back to the USFL next year, I don't know if it would be the same kind of production. I don't know if it'd be the same kind of offense. So I really, really want Gamblers fans to take this in and realize that this is a special thing that we're witnessing with Mark Thompson, with the 13 touchdowns. Hopefully we make it to the playoffs and it's just more and more touchdowns. I don't know if those count toward the record though. But winner number 2, the offensive line is clicking. Now, this was a week I was very, very worried about the offensive line. We had Jordan Steckler. We had Braylon Jones. Those are 2 starters on our line. They were out. They were inactive because they were injured. So we had Brandon Hittner playing guard. We had people like Andy Townsend, the O-line coach, was just mixing and matching, putting people where he could put them where they felt semi-comfortable. I thought that we were going to have a bad week. We're going up against the best defense in the league. I thought, man, Kenji, he's going to be having to run for his life. But no, 0 sacks, few pressures. They look good. Other than Kenji, he never really got going as well as you wanted him to. The O-line was playing out of their minds. They were playing fantastic. Next man up mentality. They were covering it. Absolutely love what we saw there. So winner number 2 is absolutely the offensive line. Kudos to Nick Buchanan, Andy Townsend, the boys. That was a fantastic showing. Now we move on to our losers. Number 1, the pass game is lacking. We still have Justin Hall, like honestly, one of the best receivers in the league. Corey Coleman looked great this week, but I think consistently you have to give Justin Hall the best receiver in the league. But ever since Anthony Ratliff-Williams went down, we haven't seen the same kind of production in the pass game. The week before he went down, we didn't really use him. Maybe his knee was hurting him. Then now he's on injured reserve. He's gone for most likely the rest of the season. And now we just aren't seeing anything in the pass game. We have Isaiah Zuber, we have Kiki Chisholm, we have Tyler Palka, we have Justin Hall, but it's just not clicking. So that's something that we really need to see going into this week. We need to see the passing game pick up, some more screens, some more just getting the balls in people's hands, make Kenji comfortable, that kind of thing. So this is more, we won the game. So honestly, you get nitpicky when you talk about the losers, but this is something where if we didn't have Mark Thompson, say he got injured or went down, that game was not ours. We had to get the passing game going. So that's loser number 1. Loser number 2, we need more turnovers. I put my man JT Tyler right here. Make sure you stay after the show for the interview with him. But we aren't creating turnovers the way that we could last year. Last season, Will Likely, Donald Payne, there were 2 interception leaders. We had, the sack leader on our team and multiple strip sack fumbles. We aren't seeing that this year. We had 2 interceptions by 1 DB a couple games ago. And then we really aren't getting turnovers. We are last in the turnover category as far as our defense goes. So we really need to start changing that, especially if we want to beat the Stallions the second time. A lot of people thought it was a fluke. They said it was a ref thing last time. We need to pay attention, do our due diligence, be aggressive on defense, because Magoo, if you give him time, he will tear you apart. We saw it this week. They were still trying to get to him, and he's just able to move. He's playing Madden out there. He's playing like a man possessed. We have to be able to create turnovers to slow him down, to stop this offense. So that is my biggest gripe. Again, getting nitpicky because we did win this week. So there's not big losers. Now, moving on, we have some Gamblers news, and it's some cool news this week. Now, We signed 2 guys, outside linebacker Chris Garrett out of Concordia, St. Paul, and wide receiver Emmanuel Butler out of Northern Arizona. These are 2 guys that it's good. So we saw people going down. We saw some injured reserve, which once a player goes to injured reserve, then I think they're making inactive money and you're able to bring on more active players. You're able to fill out your 50-man roster once you put people on injured reserve. So, we lost Donald Rutledge Jr., we lost Anthony Ratliff Williams, so it freed up 2 spots. So now we bring on Chris Garrett and Emmanuel Butler. Let's talk about him. Chris Garrett, the man is 6'4", 245 pounds. This guy's honestly legitimate. He's 24 years old, young. He's 24 years young. The guy is super young. He was drafted in the 7th round by the Rams. His rookie season, he got a little bit of playing time, won the Super Bowl, went to be with the Minnesota Vikings, and then I believe another team before he was dropped off and released. So now he's trying to get back into a training camp. So he goes to the Gamblers. Our pass rush has already been getting better and better. But the fact that now we're adding another NFL level talent in Chris Garrett is fantastic. So you're upset that you lost players to IR, especially starters, but then you get a guy who potentially could be a starter, especially if we are able to get past this week with the Stallions with a W. We're still in playoff contention. Then he could be a big factor next week against the Breakers in trying to make sure that we punch our ticket into the playoffs. So huge, huge, huge signing right here. Love him. Now, Emmanuel Butler, we brought him in because Anthony Ratliff Williams went down. This is a pretty similar looking receiver. He's 6 foot, 214 pounds. He's out of Northern Arizona University. It's a smaller school. I believe, I don't know. I want to say that's where Case Cook has played. Don't quote me on that. But he spent time in the Saints training camp, another fairly young guy. So he's been in the XFL with the Brahmas. He's been in the CFL with the Red Blacks. And now he's with the Gamblers in the USFL. So this is a guy who's a journeyman in the CFL or in the Spring Football League, hemisphere in just the first 2 years of his career, because the guy graduated in 2018, 2019. So he's been around a few years. So in the spring football world, I guess we would call him a veteran, but that's good. We need someone who can come in, learn a playbook quickly, and step in if needed, because our receiver core, while we are very deep, we do want to have levels to it. We do want to have layers, fresh legs at all times, So love the pickup. Those are 2 great pickups. Now, we move on to the reason we are all here. The biggest game of the week, in my opinion, is the Stallions versus the Gamblers. We have number 1 against number 4, and it's a tight race. Technically, it's number 1 versus a 3-way tie at 2. So we have to beat the Stallions. Do we necessarily have to beat them to get into the playoffs? No, but I'd rather beat them and feel a lot better about it, because if they do beat us, then they clinch a playoff spot if they beat us. And we don't want to do that. We don't want to let them in easy. So what do we have to do? Number 1, we have to contain. The big reason that Alex Magoo was able to make plays last week is because they weren't containing him within the pocket. They were letting Alex Magoo run around. He was running rampant. And when he does that, his eyes they trail to the end zone. His receivers just kind of sink. It's never his running back's going to run out with him and he's just going to drop it off to him. For some reason, it's always, he's scrambling. You think maybe they can get a sack, and then suddenly he throws a 40-yard pass to Jay Sternberger. So it's very important to be able to contain Alex Magoo in the pocket and make sure that you're getting in his head. We were making him so frustrated and angry last time we played them. They were fighting amongst themselves. We have to be able to get into his head. We have to be able to contain the man. When I interviewed Isaiah Chambers the week after we beat the Stallions, he said they didn't even practice contain, that it really was just they were going through their normal defensive progressions. They were doing their normal defensive schemes. And I feel like this week you can't do that. It's they've already seen it. We got him once, but now we have to step it up. We have to be able to contain him. We have to key him. Kalen Tolson is one of the fastest linebackers in the league. He absolutely needs to be shadowing this quarterback and keeping him honest. So if Alex Magoo is going to roll out one way or the other, Kalen Tolson needs to be on him. And even if he throws the ball, you got to lay a smack on this man. His ribs are hurt. I'm not saying to hurt him, but he's not going to like getting hit multiple times. So if he's throwing the ball and you're hitting him as he's throwing each time, he's not going to want to do it as much. You're going to get into his head. Again, we're not trying to hurt anybody, but we are trying to play mind games and we are trying to win this game. Now, key number 2, win the turnover battle. I mentioned it earlier on our defense, that our defense needs to start getting turnovers. That was a loss last week, right? We need to be able to get interceptions, get fumbles. But on the other side, we cannot turn the ball over. 2 weeks ago, we lost the game on a bad interception on the last play of the game by Kenji Bahar. We probably could have dropped the ball down a little lower. We probably to, a mid-level instead of shooting for the end zone. We could have gotten a first down and been alive and spiked the ball, tried for something. Now, we have to be smart. Kenji Bahar, we know who he is now. We've seen it. The guy is a game manager who can throw some very nice passes when you need it, but let's not press it. Let's not, test it super hard, put the huge pressure on him. Let's run the ball. Let's keep things interesting, getting the ball out into the flats, getting the ball across the middle, keeping the defense honest. I love the way that we were taking shots. Sometimes on first down, it'd be a drive. Midway through the drive, you get a first down, and then Kenji would take a shot downfield. I loved that last week. That was a big thing against the Maulers because it was keeping them honest, and that's a big reason that Mark Thompson was able to get through the line of scrimmage and build up a head of steam. And once he does that, you really don't want to get in his way. So I loved what they did last week, but they need to do it a little bit more. Make sure, let him be a game manager. Let Mark do his thing and just get the ball into playmakers' hands. Do not risk turnovers. That's the biggest thing. No turnovers. Now, key number 3, no easy points for the Ponies. I got Deion Kane over here. The man has returned 2 touchdowns on kickoffs. We cannot give up points on kickoffs. We cannot give up points on special teams, mistakes on special teams, like easy pick sixes, throwing something out to the flat, getting picked off, no way to even try to tackle him. We cannot give up easy points this week. We have to make them work for it. This is the Kentucky Derby of games. What do they call it? The double down derby. We cannot, limp our horse before we even get out there, hurt his leg before he's even racing. We have to be able to go stride for stride with his team. We cannot give up easy points, and we have to stay with them. If we can get up on them, we have to get up, stay up, and keep our foot on the accelerator until the whistle is blown. Oh, I am excited for Stallions week, guy. I don't know if you could tell. I am hyped right now. I want this game. I want to win. Stallions fans are one of the most annoying fan bases in sports. That's just the way that it is. Alabama, it's just a thing about their fans. And I love this community. I love it. But if I had to pick one team that I just really, really, really want to beat, always want to beat, it's the Stallions, man. And we've had their GOAT. Last season, we stopped them from having a winning season. This season, we put the second loss on them for the season. We seem to be their kryptonite. Everybody looks at them like Superman, and we're Lex Luthor with the kryptonite. I am fully okay with playing that role and with stopping them this week so that they don't clinch playoffs, so that they aren't able to celebrate after the game. They got to earn it next week against our red-hot showboats. So let's make them do it. Now, this is something that I got from a coach. He said, playoffs start this week. And I absolutely love the analogy. He said, week 9, wild card week. Week 10, divisional round. Playoff week, conference championship, NFC, AFC championship. USFL championship is the Super Bowl. I absolutely love it because at this point, the only way that we can control our own destiny is if we win out. So we have to treat it like it's playoffs. This is the first week of the playoffs. We got to go in there. We got to get stuff done, and we got to immediately set sights on the next week, but not until we finish this game. Playoffs, 4 weeks. I got you for 4 weeks, gamblers. Give it to me so that I can fly out there to Canton. I can see at the championship, and we can win a ring, and it's going to be wild. Okay. Playoffs start this week. In the words of Zac Efron, you got to get your head in the game. Let's do it. Woo! I shamelessly stole that quote. And the playoffs start this week. That was a coach on the Gamblers, but that's the mentality we have to have. At this point, we control our own destiny, and that is something that I absolutely love. That if we beat the Stallions, if we beat the Breakers, we are in. I don't think there's any way that if we won the next 2 games, if we win the next 2 games, we are 100% in. So we control our own destiny. That's exactly where you want to be. You're in the driver's seat. It's not one of those scenarios where you're watching, the NFL in the fall, and they say the only way that the Detroit Lions could get in is if these 4 teams lose, this team is a loss or a tie, and this team wins. It's none of that. It's in our hands. It's in our control. We just have to go out and produce. So let's do it. I cannot wait for this weekend. I am so excited to see the Gamblers go out and just turn the Ponies to glue. Let's go all in. Go Gamblers. I'll see y'all next week. It better be a victory Wednesday. Let's do it.
I'm in the big leagues, so they don't miss me. Ballin' like Houston, hey, feeling like Whitney. I need a bag, bruh.